Elena Varelli had spent 3 years perfecting the art of being nobody, just another faceless waitress in Manhattan's most dangerous restaurant. She served criminals who discussed murder over wine, politicians who traded secrets like currency, men whose handshakes decided who lived and died. They never looked at her, never saw her. That invisibility kept her alive, until the night she saw the red dot. One silent gesture, 2 taps against a glass, saved a crime boss's life and destroyed her own. Because that signal came from a language only the dead were supposed to know. And now, everyone wanted to know. Who taught her? If you're hooked, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and comment your city so I can see how far Elena's story travels. The Sapphire Room didn't exist on any map. No address, no sign, no hostess greeting you at the door with a practiced smile and a leather-bound menu. You either knew where it was or you didn't deserve to. 3 stories below a legitimate steakhouse in Tribeca, accessible only through a wine cellar with a floor that moved, the Sapphire Room catered to a particular clientele, people who needed to discuss things that couldn't be discussed anywhere else. Elena Varelli had worked there for 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. She knew because she counted everything. Steps from the kitchen to table 7. Seconds it took for the elevator to descend. The number of times Marco, the head of security, checked his phone during a shift. Counting kept her mind busy, kept her from thinking too much about what she overheard, what she witnessed, what she pretended not to understand. Tonight was a Thursday, which meant the usual crowd. Enforcers from the Luceti family in the corner booth, their suits expensive but their table manners non-existent. A federal prosecutor who always ordered the same thing, filet mignon, rare, no vegetables, and always left exactly 20%, as if generosity might implicate him in something. 2 real estate developers who spoke in code about properties and renovations that had nothing to do with buildings. And Adrian Cade. He sat at table 12, the one positioned perfectly to see both entrances, his back to the wall. Even sitting, he radiated the kind of presence that made people nervous. Not tall, but solid. Dark hair touched with gray at the temples. A face that might have been handsome if it weren't so carefully blank, like he'd trained himself not to show anything he didn't want seen. Elena had served him exactly 47 times. He never looked at her. Not once. Not in a cruel way. He simply didn't register her existence. She was furniture, a mechanism for delivering food and removing plates, which was exactly what she wanted. Table 12 needs water, Marco said, appearing at her elbow with his usual silent efficiency. He was good at that, showing up without warning, seeing everything. And keep it moving, we've got a situation developing. Elena glanced up sharply. What kind of situation? The kind where you do your job and don't ask questions. But his jaw was tight, and his hand rested on his hip in a way that meant he was checking for his weapon. Just stay alert. She picked up the water pitcher and crossed the dining room, her footsteps silent on the plush carpet. Years of practice had taught her how to move through this space. Fluid, but forgettable. Quick, but not hurried. She'd learned early that the key to survival in a place like this wasn't being fast or strong or clever. It was being invisible. Adrian Cade was reading something on his phone, his expression unreadable. The 2 men sitting across from him, strangers, not his usual people, leaned forward with the eager intensity of salesmen closing a deal, or predators circling prey. Elena approached from the left, her gaze down, her posture deferential. "Water, sir?" No response. Not even a flicker of acknowledgement. She filled his glass with the smooth, practiced motion she'd perfected over thousands of shifts, started to move to the next guest. And that's when she saw it. A red dot, tiny, precise, dancing across the back of Adrian Cade's head. Her training kicked in before her conscious mind caught up. Training she didn't remember receiving, instincts she couldn't explain. Her eyes tracked the angle of the laser, found its source in the upper corner of the room, near the air vent. Her peripheral vision caught the almost imperceptible shift of metal behind the grate. Someone had a sniper rifle in the ventilation system. Time didn't slow down. That was movie bullshit. But her thoughts sharpened, crystallized. She had maybe 3 seconds before whoever was behind that rifle decided to pull the trigger. 3 seconds to make a choice that would either save a man's life or get her killed for trying. Her hand moved. 2 quick taps against the water pitcher. Tap, tap. Then 3 more. Deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. A pattern. A signal. Something buried so deep in her muscle memory she didn't even realize she knew it until her body executed it automatically. Adrian Cade's head snapped up. His eyes met hers for the first time in 3 years. Gray, sharp, calculating. She saw the exact moment he registered what her hands were doing. Saw recognition flash across his face, followed immediately by something that looked like shock. He moved, dropped sideways out of his chair with a speed that didn't match his size, pulling the table over as he went. The sound of shattering glass mixed with the crack of a suppressed rifle shot. Not silent, but muffled, contained. The bullet punched through the wall paneling where his head had been 2 seconds earlier. Chaos erupted. The guests at table 12 scrambled backward. Marco was already moving, gun drawn, shouting into his radio. Other security personnel materialized from the shadows. Elena had never been quite sure how many of them worked here, but apparently the answer was more than she thought. Someone grabbed her arm, hard. Down. Now. Marco's voice clipped and controlled. He shoved her toward the floor behind the overturned table, his body between her and the ventilation grate. More gunfire. Not suppressed this time, the sharp, brutal crack of handguns in an enclosed space. Elena pressed her hands over her ears, her heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Sapphire Room had rules. Neutrality. Cameras everywhere, security so tight that even thinking about violence was supposed to be suicide. Someone had broken the rules. The shooting stopped as abruptly as it started. Elena risked a glance around the edge of the table. Adrian Cade was on his feet again, his suit jacket torn at the shoulder, but otherwise unharmed. He was speaking rapidly to Marco, his voice too low for her to hear. 3 other security personnel had their weapons trained on the ventilation grate. One of them, a woman Elena vaguely recognized, was on a ladder, pulling the grate away. She reached inside, careful, then shook her head. Remote rig. No shooter. Rifle was mounted and triggered externally. Find out how they accessed the system, Adrian said, his voice calm in a way that made Elena's skin crawl. People didn't sound like that after someone tried to kill them. And shut down the room. Everyone out. Now. Marco was already ushering guests toward the elevator. The federal prosecutor looked pale and furious. The Lucetti family enforcers moved with practiced efficiency, already on their phones, already mobilizing. The real estate developers seemed more annoyed than afraid. Elena stayed where she was, pressed against the wall, trying to make herself small again, trying to disappear back into the furniture. It didn't work. Adrian Cade's gaze found her across the room, locked on and held. He crossed to her in 4 long strides. Up close, he was more intimidating than she'd realized, not because of his size, but because of the absolute focus in his expression, like she was a puzzle he intended to solve, whether she wanted to be solved or not. What's your name? His voice was quiet, almost gentle. It didn't match his eyes. Elena. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. Elena Virelli. How long have you worked here, Elena? 3 years? And in those 3 years, has anyone ever taught you the Vanguard protocol? The what? Her confusion must have shown on her face because something shifted in his expression. Not quite surprised, but close. The signal you just gave me. He gestured at her hands. 2 taps, pause, 3 taps. That's a level 5 warning in a communication system that hasn't been used in 20 years, so I'll ask you again. Who taught you that? Elena's mouth went dry. I didn't know what it was. I just saw the laser, and my hands moved. I wasn't thinking. Muscle memory. Adrian said it like a diagnosis. Which means someone trained you. Someone drilled that signal into you so deeply, you'd use it under pressure without conscious thought. He paused. That kind of training takes years, starts young, and the only people who knew the Vanguard system are dead. I don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't quite a lie. She really didn't understand what was happening. Adrian studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to Marco. Put her in the car, downtown office, and make sure she's not followed. Wait. Elena's pulse spiked. I didn't do anything wrong. I have to finish my shift. I need this job. Your job just ended. Adrian's tone was final. And whether you did something wrong is exactly what I intend to find out. Marco took her arm again, gentler this time, but no less firm. Elena wanted to resist, to argue, to run, but she'd seen what happened to people who ran from men like Adrian Cade. They didn't get far. The elevator ride up felt longer than usual. Marco didn't speak, didn't look at her, just stood with his hand near his weapon, his expression professionally blank. When they emerged into the wine cellar of the legitimate restaurant above, everything seemed aggressively normal. Diners eating, waiters serving, soft jazz playing over hidden speakers. The cognitive dissonance made Elena's head spin. 3 floors down, someone had tried to commit murder with a remote-controlled rifle. Up here, people were debating whether to order the creme brulee. The car was waiting at the service entrance. Black SUV, tinted windows, driver already behind the wheel. Marco opened the back door and gestured for Elena to get in. She hesitated. Am I in danger? Marco's expression softened slightly. Yeah, but probably not from us. He paused. Mr. Cade doesn't hurt people who save his life. He just needs to understand how you did it. Not exactly reassuring, but better than the alternatives running through her mind. Elena climbed into the SUV. The driver pulled away from the curb without a word, merging smoothly into late-night Manhattan traffic. Elena watched the city slide past, familiar streets suddenly feeling alien, like she was seeing them through glass. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against her thighs, willing them to stop. What had she done? And more importantly, how had she known to do it? The signal had felt natural, instinctive, like reaching out to catch something falling or flinching away from heat. She hadn't thought about it. Her body had simply known. But that was impossible, wasn't it? The drive took 20 minutes. They ended up in the financial district, pulling into an underground garage beneath a building Elena vaguely recognized, one of those glass and steel towers that looked like every other glass and steel tower. The driver parked in a spot marked reserved and got out to open her door. This way, miss. They took an elevator to the 18th floor, emerged into a lobby that managed to be both luxurious and sterile, marble floors, modern art on the walls, furniture that looked expensive and uncomfortable. A receptionist sat at a curved desk, but she didn't look up as they passed, through a set of double doors, down a hallway, into a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Wait here, the driver said, and left her alone. Elena stood in the middle of the room, unsure whether to sit or stand, her exhaustion starting to catch up with her adrenaline crash. She'd been on her feet for 6 hours before the shooting. Now her legs felt shaky, unreliable. She sat. The door opened 10 minutes later. Adrian Cade entered, followed by a woman Elena had never seen before. Mid-40s, dark hair pulled back severely, eyes that assessed and cataloged everything in half a second. This is Dr. Reeves, Adrian said, taking a seat across from Elena. She's going to ask you some questions. I already told you everything I know, Elena said, and hated how defensive she sounded. You told me what you think you know. Dr. Reeves set a tablet on the table, her movements precise. There's often a difference. She glanced at Adrian. May I? He nodded. Dr. Reeves tapped the tablet screen, then turned it to face Elena. The display showed a series of hand gestures, taps, swipes, specific finger positions. Do any of these look familiar? Elena studied them. Some meant nothing, but others triggered the same strange sense of recognition she'd felt in the restaurant, like remembering a dream. She pointed to 3 of them. These, I think, maybe? Don't think. Look. Dr. Reeves' voice was firm, but not unkind. Does your body recognize them? Elena focused on one image, a specific pattern of finger movements. And yes, something in her chest tightened with familiarity. Yes. What does it mean? I don't know. But you've seen it before. Maybe? I don't remember where. Dr. Reeves made a note on her tablet, showed her another image, then another. Elena identified 5 more, each one accompanied by that same disconcerting sense of half-recognition. Interesting, Dr. Reeves leaned back. You're responding to a complete tactical hand signal language. Not just fragments, the full system. That's unusual. Why? Elena looked between her and Adrian. What does that mean? Adrian's expression was unreadable. It means someone trained you thoroughly in a communication method that was supposed to die with the organization that created it. And that organization was very, very careful about who they taught. I'm a waitress, Elena said flatly. Nobody trained me in anything except how to carry 3 plates at once. What about before you were a waitress? Dr. Reeves asked. Walk me through your history. Education, employment, family. Elena's throat tightened. She hated talking about her past. Hated the sympathy that always crept into people's voices when they learned she was alone. I grew up in Brooklyn, public schools. My mother died when I was 14. Car accident. After that, I bounced around foster homes until I aged out of the system. Worked retail, then restaurants. That's it. There's nothing special about me. Your mother's name? Why does that matter? Please. Elena exhaled through her nose. Isabel? Isabel Varelli. Something changed in the room. Subtle, but definite. Dr. Reeves and Adrian exchanged a look that Elena couldn't interpret. What? She demanded. What is it? Adrian was quiet for a moment. Then, did your mother ever work in security? Intelligence? Anything in that field? No, she was a translator, freelance. She worked from home mostly. Why? What languages did she translate? Russian, Italian, some French. Elena stopped. A memory surfacing, sharp and unexpected. Her mother at the kitchen table late at night, surrounded by papers, speaking in rapid Russian to someone on the phone. The focused intensity on her face. The way she'd hung up quickly when Elena had walked in. I'm working, Moya Dorogaya. Go back to bed. Elena? Dr. Reeves' voice pulled her back to the present. She traveled sometimes, Elena heard herself say. For work, she said. She'd be gone for a week, 2 weeks. I'd stay with a neighbor. Another memory. Her mother teaching her games. Strange games. Paying attention to small details. Remembering sequences. Reading people's body language. It's important to notice things, Elena. Practice makes perfect. Did she ever teach you anything unusual? Adrian's voice was careful. Skills that seemed unnecessary for a child? Elena's hands were shaking again. They were just games. What kind of games? Observation exercises. She'd show me a room, then take me out and ask me to describe everything in it. Or she'd introduce me to people and later quiz me on what they were wearing, how they moved, patterns in their speech. Elena swallowed. And hand signals. She said it was like a secret language, just between us. For fun. The silence that followed was heavy. Jesus, Dr. Reeves said softly. Adrian stood, walked to the window, stared out at the city lights. Isabel Varelli wasn't just a translator. She was one of the best intelligence operatives the Vanguard ever had. She could extract information from anyone, slip in and out of any environment, read people like books. He turned back to Elena. And she disappeared 9 years ago, right before she was going to testify about something she'd discovered, something big enough that someone very powerful wanted her silenced. Elena felt cold. My mother died in a car accident. The police said what they were told to say. Adrian's voice was flat. Isabel Varelli didn't die in an accident, Elena. She was murdered. And before she died, she apparently spent 14 years preparing her daughter to survive in a world she knew was coming for her family. The room tilted. Elena gripped the edge of the table, her vision swimming. That's not... You're wrong. You have to be wrong. I wish I was. Adrian returned to his seat. But the evidence is pretty clear. You're using skills that take years to develop, responding to signals you consciously don't remember learning. That's deep conditioning. The kind intelligence agencies use, the kind Isabel specialized in. Why? Elena's voice cracked. Why would she do that to me? I was just a kid. Because she knew, Dr. Reeves's tone was gentle. She knew they'd come for her, and she couldn't protect you forever. So she did the only thing she could. She gave you the tools to protect yourself, buried so deep you wouldn't even know you had them until you needed them. Elena stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need air. I can't. Sit down. Adrian's voice wasn't loud, but it cut through her panic. I know this is overwhelming, But you're not safe. The fact that you used that signal tonight means you're now visible to people who've been looking for anyone connected to Isabel for 9 years. And trust me when I say they're not going to be as patient as I'm being. So what am I supposed to do? Elena's voice rose. Hide? Run? I don't even understand what's happening. You're going to stay here, Adrian said, where I can keep you alive long enough to figure out what Isabel knew. Because whatever it was worth killing for then. And if you're carrying even a fraction of her knowledge, he paused. Let's just say you just became very, very valuable. Elena sank back into her chair, her mind racing. This morning, her biggest concern had been whether she'd make enough in tips to cover her electric bill. Now she was apparently the daughter of a dead spy, trained in skills she didn't remember learning, being protected by a crime boss from enemies she didn't know existed. I want proof, she said finally. If my mother was really who you say she was, there must be records, photos, something. Adrian nodded to Dr. Reeves, who tapped her tablet again. The screen filled with an image, a photograph, slightly grainy but clear enough. A woman in her 30s, dark hair, sharp eyes, standing in what looked like an office, talking to 2 men in suits. Elena's breath caught. It was her mother. Younger, different, more confident, more alert, but unmistakably Isabel Varelli. This was taken 6 months before she disappeared, Dr. Reeves said, at a meeting with Vanguard leadership. She'd just uncovered evidence of a massive internal corruption scheme. Someone in the organization was running their own network, using Vanguard resources for personal gain. She was compiling proof. And then she died before she could present it. Elena's voice was hollow. Yes. Who killed her? We don't know, Adrian admitted. The hit was professional, clean, no evidence, no witnesses. Whoever ordered it covered their tracks perfectly. He leaned forward. But here's what we do know, that corruption network is still operational, still hidden. And every few years, someone connected to Isabel's investigation has an unfortunate accident. A lawyer who'd stored some of her files, a detective who kept asking questions, a journalist who got too close to the truth. They're tying up loose ends, Elena said slowly. Exactly. And tonight, you became a very prominent loose end. Elena closed her eyes, tried to process. Failed. This was too much, too big, too impossible. But the photograph didn't lie, and neither did her own memories, now that she was really looking at them. All those games her mother had taught her, the strange intensity with which she'd drilled certain behaviors, the way she'd sometimes wake Elena in the middle of the night to practice emergency procedures, what to do if someone broke in, where to run, who to call. She'd called it being prepared. Elena had thought she was just paranoid. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. Information, Adrian said. Anything your mother might have told you, anything unusual she did in the weeks before her death, any place she went, any people she met, I was 14. Elena cut him off. I was mad at her half the time for being overprotective and ignoring her the other half for embarrassing me. I don't remember specifics. Then we'll help you remember. Dr. Reeves opened a new file on her tablet. The human mind retains more than we think, especially childhood memories. With the right techniques, no. Elena stood again. I'm not letting you dig around in my head. I'm not some asset to be exploited. You're exactly that, Adrian said bluntly. Whether you like it or not, your mother made sure of it. And now you have a choice. Work with us and maybe survive this, or go back to your life and wait for whoever's been killing everyone connected to Isabel to find you. Because they will. Tonight proved that. How? I haven't done anything. I've been nobody for 9 years. But you stopped being nobody the second you saved my life using a signal that shouldn't exist anymore. Adrian's expression was grim. Whoever set up that assassination attempt has people inside the Sapphire Room. They saw what you did, and they're going to want to know the same things I do. Who you are, what you know, and whether you're a threat. Elena felt the trap closing. She wanted to scream, to run, to wake up and discover this was all some elaborate nightmare. Instead, she said, if I help you, what happens after? When this is over? That depends on what we find. Adrian's honesty was almost worse than a lie would have been. But I can promise you this. I'll do everything in my power to keep you alive. That's more than most people in your position get. Not exactly a glowing endorsement, but Elena had been surviving on more than most people get her entire life. At least this time she'd know what she was walking into. Mostly. Fine, she said. I'll help. But I want answers too. Everything you know about my mother. Everything about this Vanguard organization. No secrets. Adrian smiled slightly. It didn't reach his eyes. Deal. Though I should warn you, learning the truth about your mother might not make you feel better. I stopped feeling better when I was 14. Elena met his gaze steadily. I'm not looking for comfort. I'm looking for the truth. Then we're going to get along just fine. Adrian stood, gesturing toward the door. Come on, I'll show you where you'll be staying, and then we have work to do. Elena followed him out of the conference room, her exhaustion temporarily forgotten under a surge of something she couldn't quite name. Fear, yes. Anger, definitely. But underneath those, purpose. For 9 years, she drifted through life like smoke, insubstantial, easily dispersed, leaving no mark. She told herself she preferred it that way, that invisibility was safety. But maybe her mother had trained her for something more than just survival. Maybe she'd been preparing her to fight back. The safe house wasn't what Elena expected. She'd pictured something out of a movie. Warehouse district, bare concrete, maybe a mattress on the floor, and bars on the windows. Instead, Adrian brought her to a residential building in Greenwich Village, the kind with a doorman who nodded at them without question and an elevator that required a key card to access certain floors. They rode up in silence. Elena stared at her reflection in the polished metal doors, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Same face, same body. But something fundamental had shifted in the space between seeing that red dot and sitting in Adrian's conference room learning her entire childhood had been a lie. The apartment was on the 23rd floor, spacious, furnished in that impersonal way of expensive hotels. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, light stretching to the horizon like fallen stars. Guest bedrooms through there, Adrian said, gesturing to a hallway. Bathroom stocked. There's food in the kitchen. And before you ask, yes, the windows are bulletproof. No, you can't leave without clearance. And yes, there are people watching the building. Am I a guest or a prisoner? Both. He set a phone on the counter, new, still in the box. My number's programmed in. Marco's too. You need anything, you call. You see anything suspicious, you call. You get scared, you call. I'm already scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He moved toward the door, then paused. Dr. Reeves will be here at 9 tomorrow morning. Get some sleep if you can. We've got a lot of ground to cover. After he left, Elena stood in the middle of the living room, unsure what to do with herself. The apartment was too quiet, too clean, too far removed from the cramped studio in Queens she'd called home, where the radiator clanked and the neighbors fought and sirens wailed at all hours. She walked to the windows. 23 floors down, the city pulsed with late-night energy. People heading home from bars, taxis cruising for fares, someone walking a dog. All of them living normal lives, worried about normal things. Elena pressed her forehead against the glass. It was cool, solid, real. Unlike everything else that had happened tonight, her phone, her real phone, was back at the restaurant, probably in her locker, along with her jacket, her tips, her whole life. She wondered if anyone had noticed she was gone, if the other waitstaff were gossiping about the shooting, about her disappearance, if they'd even connect the two events. Probably not. Elena Varelli was good at being forgettable. Except apparently, she wasn't Elena Varelli at all. She was the daughter of a spy, trained from birth to do things she didn't understand, carrying secrets she didn't know she had. The thought made her want to laugh, or scream. She wasn't sure which. She ended up in the guest bedroom, sitting on the edge of a bed that was too soft, staring at her hands. These hands that had moved without her permission, that had executed a signal she didn't remember learning. What else was buried in her muscle memory? What other skills had her mother planted like landmines in her subconscious, waiting to detonate? Sleep seemed impossible, but exhaustion won eventually, pulling her under into dreams that felt more like memories. Her mother's face, younger than Elena remembered, teaching her to read micro-expressions, to notice when someone was lying, to count exits in every room. Always be aware, moja drogaya. The world is not kind to those who sleep. Elena woke with the sun in her eyes and her mother's voice still echoing in her head. Doctor. Reeves arrived precisely at 9, accompanied by Marco and a woman Elena hadn't met. Late 20s, athletic build, watchful eyes. She introduced herself as Cassidy, said nothing else, and took up a position near the door with the casual alertness of someone used to expecting trouble. "How'd you sleep?" Dr. Reeves asked, setting up what looked like recording equipment on the dining table. "Badly." "That's normal. Your brain's trying to process trauma while simultaneously accessing suppressed memories. It's going to be messy for a while." She gestured to the chair across from her. "Shall we begin?" For the next 3 hours, Dr. Reeves walked Elena through her childhood with the methodical precision of an archaeologist excavating a dig site. Every birthday party, every school event, every time her mother had traveled for work, what Isabel had said before she left, what she'd brought back. Whether she'd seemed worried, distracted, afraid, Elena tried to remember, but her memories of that time were fragmented, unreliable. She'd spent years trying not to think about her mother, about the accident, about the foster homes that came after. Now she was being asked to reconstruct details from a decade ago, and her mind kept hitting walls. "Tell me about the last conversation you had with her," Dr. Reeves said. "The day before she died." Elena closed her eyes, tried to go back. "It was a Tuesday. I was mad at her because she wouldn't let me go to a party. Some girl from school was having people over and Mom said no." "Why?" "She didn't give a reason, just said it wasn't safe." Elena's throat tightened. "We fought. I told her she was paranoid and controlling, that she treated me like a prisoner. She just looked at me and said someday I'd understand." "What else?" "She asked me if I remembered the protocols, the emergency ones. I rolled my eyes and said yes, even though I wasn't really paying attention. She made me recite them anyway." Elena paused. Then she hugged me, longer than usual, and she said, the memory surfaced sharp and clear, her mother's voice in her ear, quiet and intense. "If anything happens to me, Elena, you have to be smart. Trust your instincts. Trust what I taught you. And don't let anyone convince you that you're ordinary. You're not. You never were." Dr. Reeves was very still. "Did she say anything else?" "She told me she loved me, that everything she did was to protect me." Elena opened her eyes. Then she left for work the next morning and never came home. The silence stretched. Marco shifted near the window. Cassidy remained motionless by the door. "She knew," Dr. Reeves said finally. "She knew they were coming for her." "Then why didn't she run? Why didn't she take me and disappear?" "Because running would have made you both targets forever. At least this way you had a chance at a normal life, or what passed for one." Dr. Reeves made a note on her tablet. "The protocols she made you recite, do you remember them?" Elena rattled them off without thinking. "If someone breaks in, go out the bedroom window to the fire escape. Don't stop, don't look back, run to the corner store, tell Mrs. Chen to call the number in the red book. If Mom doesn't come home by midnight, take the emergency bag from under her bed and go to Grand Central. Locker 247, combination is my birthday backwards. Inside is money and a phone. Call the first contact. Say the word Nightingale." Dr. Reeves looked at Marco. Something passed between them. "What?" Elena demanded. "Did you ever check that locker?" Marco asked. "No, why would I? Mom came home every night, until the one night she didn't, and by then the police were involved and social services and everything was chaos. I never got a chance." "We need to check it," Dr. Reeves said to Marco. "If Isabel set up a dead drop, there could be a trap," Marco interrupted. 9 years is a long time. Someone might be watching it. Only one way to find out. Adrian arrived 20 minutes later, listened to Dr. Reeves's recap, and made a decision with the speed of someone used to calculating risk. "We check it, but we do it smart. Marco, I want a full team. Surveillance first. If there's anyone watching that locker, I want to know about it before we get within 50 feet. "I'm coming with you," Elena said. "No. It's my mother's locker, my emergency protocol. I'm coming." Adrian's expression didn't change. "You're a civilian with zero tactical training who just learned her entire life was a lie yesterday. You're staying here where it's safe." "Safe?" Elena stood. You said yourself I'm visible now, that people are going to come looking for me. Hiding in this apartment isn't going to change that. It buys us time. Space. Time for what? For you to dig through my mother's secrets without me? No. I have a right to be there. You have a right to stay alive, Adrian shot back, which is harder to do when you're standing in Grand Central Terminal making yourself a target. I can help. If there's something in that locker my mother left for me, I might recognize it. Know what it means. You said yourself I'm carrying her training. Subconscious training, which is not the same as actual operational experience. Then let me start getting some. Elena crossed her arms. Because eventually you're going to run out of answers you can find without me. And when that happens, I'd rather have some idea what I'm doing. They stared at each other. Elena refused to look away first. Finally, Adrian turned to Marco. Your assessment? Marco was quiet for a moment. She's not wrong. If Isabel left something coded or personal, Elena might be the only one who can interpret it. And keeping her isolated much longer is just going to make her more reckless. I'm standing right here, Elena said. We know, Cassidy spoke for the first time, her voice dry. That's the problem. But Adrian was nodding slowly. Fine, but you follow orders exactly. You stay with Cassidy at all times, and if I say run, you run. Clear? Clear. Good. He checked his watch. We move in 2 hours. Marco, get the team in position. Dr. Reeves, I want you monitoring from the van. Cassidy, she's your responsibility. Don't let her do anything stupid. Define stupid, Cassidy said. Anything that gets her killed. Ah, so basically everything. But she was almost smiling. The 2 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Cassidy handed Elena a jacket, lightweight but heavier than it looked. Kevlar panels won't stop a rifle round, but it'll help with handguns. Comforting. Not meant to be comforting, meant to be practical. She passed over an earpiece. Communication device. You'll be able to hear all of us. Don't talk unless someone asks you a direct question. And definitely don't scream if something startles you. Marco gets jumpy. I heard that. Marco's voice came through the earpiece, making Elena flinch. Cassidy grinned. See? Jumpy. They left the apartment at noon, when Grand Central would be packed with lunch crowds. More people meant more chaos, which apparently meant better cover. Elena sat in the back of an SUV with Cassidy, watching the city slide past, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. First time? Cassidy asked. First time what? Walking into danger on purpose. Elena thought about it. I've been doing that every shift at the Sapphire Room for 3 years. I just didn't know it. That's different. That was passive danger, ambient threat. This is active, intentional. Cassidy checked her weapon. Smooth, practiced motion. If you're going to panic, now's the time, before we're in position. I'm not going to panic. Everyone says that. Then the shooting starts and they freeze or run the wrong direction, or, I get it. Elena's voice was sharper than she intended. I'm a liability. But I'm here anyway, so maybe help me not be useless instead of cataloging all the ways I might screw up. Cassidy was quiet for a moment, then, fair enough. Here's what you need to know. We've got 4 teams. Marco's running point with 2 operators. They'll approach the locker directly. Adrian's got the perimeter with another 3. I've got you at observation distance. Dr. Reeves is in the mobile command post analyzing real-time surveillance feeds. If anything goes wrong, my job is to get you out. Not to engage, not to help the others, just you. Understand? What if? No what ifs. You're the priority. That's the mission. Cassidy's tone was final. Adrian's orders. They parked 2 blocks from Grand Central in a structure that gave them access to multiple exit routes. The walk to the terminal felt surreal. Elena had been here hundreds of times, meeting friends, catching trains, cutting through on her way to somewhere else. Now she was seeing it through different eyes, noting security cameras, counting exits, watching for people who watched too carefully. Your mother's training, some part of her brain whispered. This is what she prepared you for. The main concourse was exactly as chaotic as Cassidy had predicted. Tourists gawking at the famous ceiling, commuters rushing to catch trains, a school group following a harried teacher, the information booth in the center surrounded by people asking questions. And underneath it all, the lockers. Rows of them, coin-operated, most looking like they hadn't been used in years. Elena's earpiece crackled. Marco's voice, calm and professional. In position, running thermal sweep. Copy, Adrian responded. Dr. Reeves, what's the camera situation? I've got eyes on 12 angles. Civilian traffic is heavy, but normal. No obvious surveillance that I can detect. A pause. But if they're good, I won't see them until they move. Comforting as always. That was Marco. Moving in. Cassidy guided Elena to a bench near the Vanderbilt Avenue entrance, positioning them with a clear view of the locker section but far enough away to seem uninvolved. They sat. Elena forced herself to look casual, to not stare at Marco and his team approaching locker 247, her mother's locker. The combination was her birthday backwards. December 15th, 1998 became 89-51-21. Would it even still work after 9 years? Marco reached the locker. His fingers moved on the dial, slow, careful. Elena held her breath. The lock clicked. The door swung open, and Marco went very still. Talk to me, Adrian's voice sharp. We've got contents, small bag. Appears to be... Marco reached in carefully. Documents, flash drive, something wrapped in cloth, checking for triggers. Elena's heart hammered. This was it. Whatever her mother had left behind, whatever was worth killing for. Clear, Marco said. Extracting now. That's when Dr. Reeves's voice cut through the earpiece. Urgent. We have a problem. 3 individuals just entered the main concourse, moving with purpose. Military bearing, and they're heading straight for the lockers. How fast? Adrian. 30 seconds. Marco, abort. Leave it. Negative. I've got the bag. Heading to secondary exit. Copy. All teams converge on Marco's position. Cassidy, get her out now. Cassidy's hand closed on Elena's arm. Firm, but not rough. We're leaving. Walk. Don't run. They stood, started moving toward the exit. Elena risked a glance back, saw 3 men in business suits cutting through the crowd with the kind of efficient movement that marked them as different, dangerous. One of them looked directly at her. Their eyes met across 50 feet of crowded terminal, and Elena saw recognition flare in his expression. He made us, she said. I know, keep moving. Cassidy's pace increased, still not quite running. They wove through clusters of travelers, putting bodies between them and pursuit. The earpiece erupted with overlapping voices. Marco reporting he had the package and was clear. Adrian's team engaging the 3 men. Doctor. Reeves calling out positions, movements, threat assessments, and underneath it all a new voice. Cold, precise. All units, we have confirmation. Target is mobile with the Varelli package. Intercept and retrieve. Elena's blood went cold. They had radios too. Coordination, which meant this wasn't just 3 men. This was a team. How many? Adrian's voice still calm somehow. I'm seeing at least 8 more converging on the terminal, Dr. Reeves reported. They were staged in the surrounding area. We walked into a setup. Cassidy cursed under her breath, changed direction sharply, pulling Elena down a side corridor toward the lower-level dining concourse. They knew we'd come for the locker. They've been watching it for years. Then why let Marco take it? Elena's mind was racing. Why not grab it themselves? Because they wanted to see who showed up. Cassidy's voice was grim. They were fishing, and we just identified ourselves. They burst into the dining concourse. More crowds, more chaos. Cassidy navigated through them with practiced ease, one hand still gripping Elena's arm, the other resting near her concealed weapon. The earpiece crackled. Cassidy, you've got 2 hostiles entering dining level from the east entrance. Male, dark coats, moving to intercept. Copy. Cassidy pulled Elena into a coffee shop, ducked behind the counter. The barista started to protest, saw something in Cassidy's expression, and backed away. Is there a back way out of here? Cassidy asked him. He nodded, pointed to a door marked Employees Only. They went through, emerged into a service corridor lined with pipes and electrical conduits. Bare concrete, harsh fluorescent lights. The sounds of the terminal muffled to a distant hum. Cassidy moved fast now, pulling Elena along. We need to reach the Park Avenue exit. Van's going to meet us there. What about the others? They can handle themselves. You can't. They rounded a corner. A man stepped out from a doorway ahead of them, tall, buzzed hair, hand already reaching inside his jacket. Cassidy moved faster, shoved Elena behind her, drew her weapon in one smooth motion. "Don't!" The man froze. His hand hovered near his weapon. Elena could see him calculating odds, considering options. "Walk away," Cassidy said quietly. "You don't get paid enough to die today." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the man slowly raised his hand, stepped back. "The girl's not worth it anyway. We just want the package." "The package left with someone else. You're chasing the wrong person." "Am I?" He smiled. "Because intel says Isabel Virelli had a daughter, and you're awful protective of that girl behind you." Cassidy's expression didn't change, but Elena felt her shift, balancing weight, preparing to move. "Last chance," Cassidy said. "Walk away." The man's smile widened. "You first." Then several things happened very fast. The man went for his gun. Cassidy fired. 2 shots. Center mass. The man went down. Cassidy grabbed Elena, pulled her past the body, kept moving. "Are you okay?" Elena's voice came out shaky. "I'm fine. You?" "I think so. You killed him. Better him than us." No hesitation, no emotion, just fact. They reached a metal door, crashed through into another corridor. Elena's mind was reeling, trying to process what she'd just seen, but Cassidy didn't give her time to think. "Almost there. 30 more seconds." But 30 seconds was too long. 2 more men appeared at the far end of the corridor, both armed, both between them and the exit. Cassidy slowed. "Okay, this is going to get messy. Can you take them?" "Probably, but probably's not good enough when it's your life." She was scanning, looking for options. "There. A service ladder leading up to a maintenance hatch. Can you climb?" "Yes." "Then go. Fast. Don't wait for me." "I'm not leaving you." "That's exactly what you're doing." Cassidy shoved her toward the ladder. "Get to street level. Find a crowd. Call Marco. He'll extract you." "Cassidy, go!" Elena went, grabbed the ladder, started climbing. Below her, she heard Cassidy's voice, loud and clear. "She's a civilian, employee. Wrong place, wrong time. You want someone, you want me." Gunfire. Shouting. The metallic clang of bullets hitting pipes. Elena climbed faster, her hands slipping on cold metal rungs. Reached the hatch, shoved it open. Emerged into an alley behind the terminal, afternoon sunlight shocking after the dim corridors. She ran. Burst onto 42nd Street into a river of pedestrians. Forced herself to slow down, blend in. Her heart was trying to escape her chest. Her hands were shaking. Behind her, sirens began to wail. Her earpiece was silent. Dead or just out of range? Elena ducked into a bookstore, moved to the back, tried to think. Marco's number was programmed into the phone Adrian had given her. She pulled it out with trembling fingers. It rang once. "Where are you?" "I don't know. A bookstore on 42nd. Cassidy, she's still down there. They had us cornered." "Stay where you are. I'm sending someone." "We can't just leave her." "We're not. Adrian's team is already moving in. But you need to get clear of the area. Police are going to flood the zone in about 60 seconds. Elena looked out the bookstore window. Sure enough, police cars were converging, lights flashing. Pedestrians were stopping, gawking, filming with their phones. "There's a gray sedan parking across the street," Marco said. "Driver's wearing a red cap. That's yours. Get in." Elena saw it. Moved toward the door. Hesitated. "Elena, get in the car. Now." She went. The driver said nothing, just pulled into traffic the moment her door closed. They drove in silence for 10 minutes before her earpiece crackled back to life. "Cassidy's clear," Adrian's voice. "Wounded but ambulatory. Marco has the package. Everyone's pulling out." Elena sagged against the seat, relief making her dizzy. "You did good," the driver said. First words he'd spoken. "Kept your head, followed orders. That's not easy under fire." "I left her." "She told you to leave her." "That's different." He glanced in the rearview mirror. "You're Isabel's daughter, all right. She always knew when to run." Elena looked at him sharply. "Did you know her?" "Long time ago, before your time." He said nothing else. They ended up at a different building, different safe house, smaller, more industrial. Elena was too drained to care. She sank onto a couch and stared at nothing while around her, People moved with purposeful efficiency. Marco arrived 15 minutes later carrying a small duffel bag. He set it on the table in front of her. Your mother's package. Elena stared at it. This was what people had died for, what they'd just fought for, what had been waiting in a locker for 9 years. What's inside? Haven't looked yet. Figured you should be here when we do. Adrian appeared looking more disheveled than Elena had seen him. His jacket torn, smudge of something dark on his sleeve that might have been blood. Dr. Reeves followed, laptop already open. Cassidy limped in last, favoring her left side, but her expression was calm. She caught Elena's eye, nodded. I'm sorry, Elena started. Don't. You did what I told you. That's the job. Cassidy lowered herself carefully into a chair. Besides, I've had worse Tuesdays. It's Thursday. Is it? Well, there you go. Despite everything, Elena almost smiled. Adrian opened the duffel bag. Inside, a manila envelope, water-stained but intact, a flash drive in a sealed plastic bag, and something wrapped in dark blue cloth, heavy, solid. He unwrapped it carefully. A gun, old but well-maintained, and underneath it, a photograph. Dr. Reeves picked up the photo, studied it. Her expression changed. Oh, that's... What? Elena leaned forward. Dr. Reeves turned it to show her. The photograph showed 5 people standing in what looked like an office. Elena recognized her mother instantly, looking severe and professional in dark clothes. Next to her stood Adrian, younger, harder. And 3 others Elena didn't know, except she did know one of them. The man on the far right, older than the others. Distinguished. Smiling slightly at the camera. Elena had seen him before, at the Sapphire Room, sitting at table 7. The regular who always left exactly 20%. Victor Hale, Adrian said quietly. Vanguard's chief strategist. Isabel's mentor. He looked at Elena. And the man I've suspected for 9 years of being the traitor who got her killed. Elena's vision tunneled. The photograph in Dr. Reeves's hand seemed to pulse with each beat of her heart. Victor Hale. Table 7. The man who'd sat 15 feet from her for 3 years, ordering the same meal, leaving the same tip, never once acknowledging her existence, watching her the entire time. He's been at the Sapphire Room. Her voice came out flat. Every Thursday. Same table. Same order. Adrian's expression went very still. For how long? Since I started. Maybe before. I don't know, I never paid attention to when regulars started coming. She looked up at him. Why would he be there? Because that's what Victor does. Adrian set the photograph down carefully, like it might explode. He watches. He waits. He plans 20 moves ahead while everyone else is still trying to figure out the game. He turned to Marco. Get me everything. Every Thursday for the last 3 years. Security footage, credit card receipts, who he met with, who sat near him. Everything. Already on it. Marco was typing rapidly on his phone. Dr. Reeves had opened the manila envelope, was spreading documents across the table. These are financial records, transactions dating back 11 years, accounts in the Caymans, Switzerland, Singapore. And look at this. She pointed to a highlighted section. Regular transfers, same amount, same schedule. Going to a shell company registered in, she checked another page, Delaware. Corporation name is Nightingale Holdings. The word hit Elena like cold water. Nightingale. That was the code word in my mother's protocol, the one I was supposed to say if I called the emergency contact. Everyone looked at her. She knew, Cassidy said quietly. She knew exactly who was dirty, and she marked it. Right there in the emergency instructions she gave her daughter. Adrian picked up the flash drive, turned it over in his hands. We need to see what's on this, but carefully. If Isabel encrypted it, she would have, Dr. Reeves interrupted. The question is whether Elena has the key. I don't have any key. I don't even know what that means. Not a physical key. A password. A phrase. Something your mother would have told you that you'd remember. Dr. Reeves connected the flash drive to her laptop, began running analysis software. Something personal, but not obvious. Something that would mean something to you, but nothing to anyone else. Elena tried to think, but her mother had said so many things over the years. Bedtime stories, advice about school, Instructions for staying safe. How was she supposed to know which words mattered? The laptop beeped. Dr. Reeves frowned. It's asking for a passphrase, minimum 12 characters, 3 attempts before it locks permanently. Don't guess, Adrian said sharply. If we get this wrong, I know. Dr. Reeves didn't touch the keyboard. They all looked at Elena. She felt the weight of their expectations, the pressure to remember something she wasn't sure she'd ever known. Give me a minute. Let me think. She closed her eyes, went back, past the foster homes, past the funeral, past that last terrible week. Back to when things were normal. When her mother was just her mother, not a spy, not a dead hero, just the woman who made breakfast and helped with homework and sang off-key in the shower. What had she always said? What phrase did she repeat? Try something, Elena said suddenly. All lowercase, no spaces. Trust your instincts, Dr. Reeves typed. Hit enter. The screen flashed red. Incorrect. 2 attempts remaining. It's okay, Dr. Reeves said quickly. We have 2 more tries. Think. What else? Elena's hands were shaking. 1 wrong guess left. After that, whatever her mother had hidden would be locked forever. There was this thing she'd say when I was scared, when I had nightmares or got worried about something. She searched for the exact words. She'd say, "Fear is just information. Listen to it, but don't let it rule you." How would she write that? Dr. Reeves asked. Exactly as you said it? I don't know, maybe without spaces, or just the first letters? That's 2 different guesses. We only have 1 attempt left. Adrian was pacing now, his jaw tight. Marco had stopped typing, was watching with the focused intensity of someone who understood how badly this could go wrong. Wait. Elena's mind was racing. Not the whole phrase, just the important part. What she was really teaching me. She met Dr. Reeves's eyes. Try fearless data. All one word, lowercase. Dr. Reeves hesitated. You're sure? No, but it's what she believed. That everything was information, data, even emotions, especially emotions. Elena remembered her mother analyzing people at the grocery store, turning every interaction into a lesson. Fear tells you where the danger is. Anger tells you where the boundaries are. Everything means something. Dr. Reeves typed, slowly, F-E-A-R-I-S-D-A-T-A. Her finger hovered over the enter key. Do it, Elena said. She pressed enter. The screen went black. Then it bloomed with folders, hundreds of files organized by date and category, video files, audio recordings, spreadsheets, scanned documents, 9 years of evidence. Dr. Reeves exhaled shakily. Okay, we're in. She started opening files at random. A video played, meeting room, poor lighting, voices speaking in Russian. Subtitles appeared, apparently embedded by Isabel. 2 men discussing shipment routes, bribes paid to customs officials, names, dates, amounts. Another file. Financial records showing money moving through a complex web of shell companies, each transaction carefully documented and annotated. Another. Audio recording of a phone conversation. A man's voice, cultured and calm, giving orders for an asset to be eliminated. The voice was familiar, but Elena couldn't place it. Then Dr. Reeves opened a document titled Nightingale_Prime. The room went silent. It was a ledger. Names on the left. Crimes on the right. Dates, amounts, evidence references. 23 people listed. Politicians, judges, prosecutors, police chiefs. And at the top of the list, highlighted in red, Victor Hale, architect. Below his name, a summary. Years of embezzlement, human trafficking networks operated under Vanguard cover, assassinations ordered to protect his empire. And underneath all of it, a note in Isabel's handwriting. VH has corrupted the organization from within. He's been building a shadow network for 15 years, using Vanguard resources and intelligence to create his own criminal empire. He's untouchable because he knows where everybody is buried. He helped bury most of them. The evidence in these files represents 12 years of investigation. It's comprehensive, it's damning, and if he finds out I have it, I'm dead. If you're reading this, I probably already am. Don't trust anyone in the organization except AK. He's clean, stubborn, rigid, but clean. The rest could be compromised. VH is that good at manipulation. Elena, if somehow this reaches you, run. Take this evidence to the federal prosecutor's office, give them everything, and disappear. Don't be brave. Don't try to fight. Just survive. That's all I ever wanted for you. I love you. I'm sorry. Mom. Elena couldn't breathe. The words blurred. She felt hands on her shoulders. Cassidy, steadying her. She knew she was going to die, Elena whispered. She knew, and she didn't run. She just made sure I'd be okay after. She was trying to finish the job, Adrian said quietly. Get the evidence compiled. Make it airtight. Then deliver it to someone who could actually do something with it. He paused. She almost made it. AK, Marco said. That's you. Adrian Cade. She trusted you. She trusted me to be predictable, rule-following, incorruptible to the point of being an idiot about it. Adrian's mouth twisted. We fought about it constantly. She thought I was naive. I thought she was paranoid. Turns out you were both right, Cassidy said. Dr. Reeves was still scrolling through files, her expression growing darker. This is extensive. We're talking about corruption that goes back decades, multiple countries, billions of dollars. If this goes public, it won't just destroy Victor Hale. It'll bring down half the power structure in the northeastern United States. Good, Elena said. Not good. Dangerous. Adrian leaned over Dr. Reeves' shoulder, scanned the document. These people won't just roll over. They'll fight, and they have resources we can't match. So what, we just sit on it? Let Victor win? No, we use it strategically. Build a case that's ironclad, get federal authorities involved, make copies, stash them in multiple locations, then we move. His eyes were cold. But we do it right. Rushing gets people killed. People are already getting killed, Elena shot back. That man in the corridor, Cassidy, almost died. How many more before we act? As many as it takes to ensure we actually win. Adrian's voice was hard. Your mother spent 12 years building this case. She died before she could deliver it. I'm not going to waste her work by getting sloppy now. They stared at each other. Elena wanted to scream at him, to demand action, justice, something other than more waiting. But part of her, the part her mother had trained, understood. Rushing was how you lost. Patience was how you survived. Fine, she said. What's the plan? Before Adrian could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned, and answered. Talk to me. Elena watched his expression change, saw the moment alarm flickered across his face. When? How many? A pause. No, stay there. Don't engage. We're moving. He hung up. We have a problem. Victor knows we have the flash drive. How? Dr. Reeves demanded. Because he just walked into the Sapphire room with 15 armed men and asked to speak to me. Specifically mentioned that he's interested in discussing some property that was recently retrieved from Grand Central. Adrian was already moving, grabbing his jacket. Marco, get everyone to the secondary location. Dr. Reeves, copy those files to every backup we have. Cassidy, I know, babysitting duty. Cassidy stood, wincing. Come on, Elena, time to move again. Wait. Elena grabbed the photograph from the table, stared at Victor Hale's smiling face. I want to meet him. Everyone stopped. Absolutely not, Adrian said. He's been watching me for 3 years. He probably knows more about my life than I do, and he clearly wants something from me, or I'd already be dead. Elena kept her voice steady. So let's find out what that is. By walking into a trap? By using me as bait? She looked at Adrian. You said it yourself. I'm valuable. I'm Isabel's daughter. I got into the locker. I probably have access to the files now. Victor needs to know what I know and whether I'm a threat. You are a threat. You have the evidence that destroys him. But he doesn't know that for sure. He knows we retrieved something. He doesn't know if we can access it. Elena was thinking fast now, her mother's training kicking in. What if we make him think I'm confused, scared, that I don't understand what's happening and I'm looking for answers? He'd never believe that. Why not? Up until 2 days ago, that was true. I was nobody, a waitress, and he spent 3 years confirming that I'm ordinary, that whatever Isabel tried to teach me didn't take. She paused. Let him keep thinking that. Let him believe I'm harmless. Maybe he'll make a mistake. Cassidy made a skeptical sound. Or he'll just kill you and take what he wants. Not if there are witnesses, not if it's public. Elena turned to Adrian. The Sapphire Room is neutral ground, right? That's the whole point. No violence in the club. Victor's already broken that rule by bringing armed men inside. Which means he's desperate, exposed, making moves he wouldn't normally make. Elena pressed her advantage. And desperate people make mistakes. This is our chance. Adrian was silent for a long moment. Then he looked at Dr. Reeves. Psychological assessment. Could she pull this off? Dr. Reeves studied Elena with clinical detachment. Maybe. She's got the training foundation, even if she doesn't recognize it. And Victor's expectation of her is so low that he might not see through a performance. She paused. But it's high risk. If he suspects she's playing him, he'll call her bluff. And we don't have the firepower to extract her from the Sapphire Room if things go sideways. So we get the firepower, Marco said. Call in every favor we have. Position teams at every exit. Wire her up so we hear everything. And be ready to burn the whole place down if necessary. Adrian paced. Elena could see him calculating, weighing options. Finally, if we do this, and that's a massive if, you follow the script exactly. No improvisation, no heroics. You go in, feel him out, and get out at the first sign of trouble. What's the script? We'll write it together. You, me, Dr. Reeves. We'll run through every question he might ask, every angle he might take, prepare you for every scenario we can imagine. And the ones you can't imagine? Adrian's smile was grim. Then you trust your instincts, like Isabel taught you. The next 6 hours were the most intense of Elena's life. Dr. Reeves drilled her relentlessly. Questions, scenarios, psychological tactics Victor might use. How to seem uncertain without appearing stupid. How to give information without revealing too much. How to read micro-expressions and adjust her approach in real time. It was exhausting, terrifying, and strangely familiar. Your mother trained you for this, Dr. Reeves said during a water break. Not consciously, maybe, but all those games, the observation exercises, the people reading practice, this is what it was building toward. She was teaching you to operate in hostile environments without anyone realizing you were a threat. Great, so I'm a spy who didn't know she was a spy. You're Isabel's daughter, which is apparently the same thing. Dr. Reeves pulled up a video file on her laptop. Watch this. It's footage from the Sapphire Room. Victor at table 7. Elena watched. Saw him order, eat, pay. Nothing unusual, just a man having dinner. Now, watch his eyes, Dr. Reeves said. Elena focused. Saw the way Victor's gaze tracked people. Noticed the server who approached his table, how his attention sharpened when certain guests arrived, how he checked his phone with specific timing. He's working, Elena realized. Even just sitting there eating, he's gathering intelligence. Exactly. He's always working. Every conversation is an interrogation. Every interaction is a transaction. He doesn't do small talk. He extracts value from every moment. Dr. Reeves paused the video. Which means when you sit down with him tonight, he's going to be analyzing everything. Your posture, your word choice, how long you maintain eye contact, whether your hands shake. All of it is data. So I give him bad data. No, you give him real data, just not all of it. Dr. Reeves leaned forward. Here's the key. Victor expects you to be afraid. You are afraid. Let him see that. He expects you to be confused. You are confused. Let him see that too. The trick is to hide the parts that would scare him. Your intelligence, your training, the fact that you're Isabel's daughter and more than just genetics. Elena nodded slowly. I play the victim, the lost girl looking for answers. Exactly. And if he buys it, he'll relax, get comfortable, maybe say something he shouldn't. Adrian appeared in the doorway. Car's ready. We need to move if we're going to make the window. Elena stood. Her legs felt unsteady. Cassidy helped her into the Kevlar-lined jacket again, checked the wire concealed in the collar. Radio check, Marco's voice in her earpiece. Copy, Elena said quietly. Remember, Adrian said, we're monitoring everything. You're not alone in there. And if I give the abort signal, you leave. Immediately. No arguments. What's the abort signal? I'll say your mother's name. Isabel. You hear that? You walk out. Okay. And Elena? He waited until she met his eyes. You're doing the right thing. This is brave. Or stupid. Often the same thing. He almost smiled. Good luck. The drive to the Sapphire Room felt both too long and too short. Elena spent it breathing slowly, reviewing her talking points, trying to calm the panic rising in her chest. Cassidy sat beside her, a silent presence that was oddly comforting. You're going to be fine, Cassidy said as they pulled up to the service entrance. Just remember, you've already survived the worst thing that could happen to you. Your mother died. You made it through that. This is just one more Thursday. It was a strange thing to say, but it helped. Elena walked through the wine cellar, into the elevator, down to the Sapphire Room. The space looked the same as always, elegant, dimly lit, expensive. But the atmosphere was wrong, tense. The usual dinner crowd was absent. Instead, men in suits stood at intervals around the room, their attention focused and alert. Victor's men. And there, at table 12, sat Victor Hale himself. He looked exactly as Elena remembered, distinguished, calm, unremarkable. The kind of man who blended into any environment, forgettable until you realized he'd been memorizing every detail the entire time. He smiled when he saw her, stood, gestured to the chair across from him. Elena, thank you for coming. Please, sit. His voice was warm, cultured, the voice of a favorite professor or a kind uncle. Nothing in it suggested he'd ordered her mother's death. Elena sat, kept her hands in her lap so he wouldn't see them shaking. I'm sure you're wondering why I asked to meet, Victor said, settling back into his chair. It must all seem very confusing. Just a few days ago, you were serving tables here. Now you're caught up in something you don't understand. I understand enough. Elena kept her voice quiet. I understand my mother wasn't who I thought she was, and I understand people are trying to kill me because of something she did. Is that what Adrian told you? Is it wrong? Victor tilted his head. Not wrong, but incomplete. Adrian has a very black and white view of the world. Good people, bad people, heroes and villains. Reality is more nuanced. My mother's dead. That seems pretty black and white. Your mother's dead because she made choices, Victor said gently. Dangerous choices. She went looking for corruption and found it. But she didn't ask herself whether exposing it would actually make the world better or just create chaos. Elena forced herself to meet his eyes. You killed her. I protected the organization. No denial, just calm statement of fact. Isabel was brilliant. I loved her like a daughter. But she was going to destroy everything we'd built. Decades of work, of carefully maintained balance, of networks that kept the peace. She would have burned it all down in the name of purity. She would have exposed criminals. She would have created a power vacuum. When you remove the devil, you know, something worse usually takes its place. Victor leaned forward slightly. I know you think I'm the villain here. That's fine. I've made peace with that role. But consider this. In the 9 years since your mother died, how many gang wars have erupted in this city? How many territories have dissolved into violence? I don't know. None. Zero. Because the structure Isabel wanted to destroy is what maintains stability. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying people don't suffer, but the alternative is worse. It was a good argument, reasonable, almost convincing. Elena remembered her training, trust your instincts. And her instincts said Victor Hale was a liar who'd perfected the art of making murder sound like mercy. What do you want from me? She asked. The same thing I wanted from your mother. Understanding. Victor spread his hands. You retrieved something from Grand Central, a package Isabel left behind. I'm guessing it contained evidence, files, maybe the same evidence she died trying to protect. Elena said nothing. I'm not going to take it from you, Victor continued. That would be counterproductive. You've probably already copied it, shared it with Adrian. Trying to suppress it now would just validate its importance. So instead, I'm offering you a choice. What choice? Walk away. Forget you ever saw those files. Live your life. I'll make sure no one bothers you. You can go back to being invisible. Safe. He paused. Or you can try to use that evidence. Give it to the authorities. Watch them bury it because half of them are mentioned in those files. Watch nothing change except now you're a target for the rest of your life. That's not much of a choice. It's more than most people get. Victor's expression was almost sympathetic. Elena, I know you think your mother was a hero, and in some ways she was, but she was also a zealot who couldn't accept that sometimes the system, broken as it is better than the alternative. Don't make her mistakes. In her earpiece, Adrian's voice. He's trying to manipulate you. Stay focused. Elena took a breath. If you're so sure nothing will change, why offer me a deal? Why not just let me try and fail? Something flickered in Victor's eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition. Because you're Isabel's daughter. And I made the mistake of underestimating her once. I won't make it twice. He paused. Also because despite everything, I did care about your mother. And I'd prefer not to kill you if I don't have to. Call it sentimentality. How kind. I'm being honest. That's more than most people in my position would give you. Elena studied him, saw the calculation behind his pleasant demeanor, the assessment happening in real time. He was trying to figure out what she knew, what she'd do, whether she was a threat. Time to give him what he expected. I don't want any of this, she said, letting her voice crack slightly. I just want my life back. I want to go back to work and pay my rent and not have people shooting at me. Then give me your word you'll destroy the files, all of them, and I'll make this go away. And I'm supposed to just trust you. Yes, because unlike everyone else in this mess, I actually keep my word. When I make a deal, it stays made. Victor's tone was firm. Your mother knew that about me. It's why she hated me. She thought honor among thieves was an oxymoron. I thought it was the only thing that separated us from animals. In her ear, get more. Push him. What about the people who came after me at Grand Central? Elena asked. Were those your people? Some of them. Some worked for other interested parties. You attracted a lot of attention very quickly. Who else is involved? Victor smiled. Now you're asking the right questions, but those answers cost more than you're offering. What do you want? I already told you. Destroy the files. Walk away. That's the price of your safety. And if I don't? Then we continue this conversation under less pleasant circumstances. No threat in his voice, just fact. Adrian, that's enough. Get out. But Elena wasn't done. There's something I don't understand. You've been watching me for 3 years, every Thursday, table 7. If you thought I was a threat, why wait this long? Victor's expression shifted. For the first time, he looked genuinely surprised. You noticed? I'm a waitress. I notice regulars. No, you're Isabel's daughter. You notice everything. He leaned back, reassessing. I watched you because I needed to know if she'd passed her skills on. If you were dormant or dead. And for 3 years you seemed dead. Then you saved Adrian's life with a signal you shouldn't know, and suddenly you're not quite so harmless anymore. I didn't know what it meant. I just reacted. Muscle memory, deep training, which means Isabel prepared you better than I thought. Victor's smile faded. Which changes things. How? Because now I know you're dangerous, even if you don't. He stood. Think about my offer, Elena. You have 24 hours. After that, the deal expires and we move to less civilized negotiations. Adrian's voice sharp. Isabel, code abort. Get out now. But before Elena could move, the lights went out. Complete darkness. Then emergency lighting kicked in, dim red bulbs that turned the room into something from a nightmare. Shouts. Movement. The sound of weapons being drawn. Elena froze. Her training screamed at her to move, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Then hands grabbed her, not rough, but firm. Victor's voice in her ear, quiet and controlled. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Gunfire erupted, not from inside the room, but from somewhere above. The distinct crack of a high-powered rifle, then returned fire from Victor's men. Someone's attacking the building, Victor said. Not mine, not Adrian's. Someone else. In the chaos, Elena felt him press something into her hand. Small. Metal. A key. Locker 842, Penn Station. If you want real answers about what your mother found, start there. His grip tightened briefly. Now run! He shoved her toward the emergency exit. Elena ran. The emergency exit spat Elena into an alley that smelled like garbage and rain. Behind her, the Sapphire Room erupted with more gunfire. Automatic weapons now, the staccato rhythm of a full assault. She stumbled forward, the key Victor had pressed into her palm, biting into her skin. Her earpiece crackled. Elena! Status! Adrian's voice strained. I'm out. I'm okay. She pressed against the brick wall, trying to orient herself. Victor gave me something, a key. He said, doesn't matter what he said. Where are you? She looked around. Alley behind the building. West side, I think. Stay there. Marco's coming to you. But Elena's training, her mother's training, was screaming at her that staying anywhere was suicide. She moved deeper into the alley, away from the sounds of combat, the key clutched in her fist like a talisman. A black SUV screeched around the corner. For a half second, she thought it was Marco, started to step forward. Then she saw the window rolling down, the barrel of a weapon emerging, and threw herself behind a dumpster. Bullets chewed into brick where she'd been standing. Chips of concrete stung her face. Contact! West Alley! She shouted into the wire. Someone's... The SUV's door opened. A man got out, moving with military precision. Not one of Victor's. Not one of Adrian's. Someone new. Elena ran. Her feet pounded pavement, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Behind her, footsteps. Gaining. She'd never been athletic, never trained for this kind of physical confrontation. Her mother had taught her to think, to observe, to manipulate. Not to run from armed killers in Manhattan alleys. A hand grabbed her jacket. She spun, remembering something, her body remembering something, and drove her palm upward toward her attacker's nose. Connected. Felt cartilage crunch. The man stumbled back, cursing. Elena kept running. She burst onto a main street into the flow of late-night pedestrians. Forced herself to slow down, blend in. Her heart was trying to break out of her chest. The wire in her collar had gone silent, damaged in the fall, or maybe just out of range. She was alone. The key in her hand felt impossibly heavy. Penn Station, locker 842. Victor Hale, her mother's killer, had just given her a clue, which meant it was either a trap or information so dangerous he couldn't afford to let it die with Isabel. Elena ducked into a 24-hour drugstore, moved to the back, tried to think. She needed to contact Adrian, needed to regroup, but her phone was back at the safe house and the wire was dead, and she had no idea if the men chasing her were still tracking her somehow. Trust your instincts, her mother's voice whispered. Her instincts said Victor had given her the key for a reason, not kindness, not sentiment, because he needed her to find whatever was in that locker, which meant it was valuable to him, which meant it was leverage. She bought a burner phone with cash from her pocket, tips from the Sapphire Room still crumpled in her jacket, used it to call the number Adrian had programmed into her now absent phone. She'd memorized it without thinking, another buried skill surfacing when needed. It rang 4 times. Yes? It's Elena. The wire's dead. I'm on a burner. Where are you? Marco this time, not Adrian. She told him, heard typing in the background. Stay there. We're 10 minutes out. What happened at the Sapphire Room? Coordinated assault. Professional. They hit us from 3 directions simultaneously. Marco's voice was tight. We lost 2 people. Cassidy took a round to the shoulder, and Victor's gone. Gone? Vanished during the firefight. His men created a diversion and he slipped out. We're trying to track him now, but he's got a decade of experience disappearing. A pause. What did he give you? Elena looked at the key. Insurance, I think. He told me locker 842 at Penn Station has answers about what my mother found. Silence on the other end. Then, don't go there. It's obviously a trap. Or it's not. Or it's both. Elena was thinking out loud now. He had me. In the dark, with his men everywhere, he could have taken me. Instead, he gave me this and told me to run. Why? Because he's playing a longer game. He always is. Then let's play it. See where it leads. Elena, I'm going to Penn Station. You can meet me there or not, but I'm going. She hung up before Marco could argue. The walk to Penn Station took 15 minutes. Elena moved through the Thursday night crowds with new awareness, seeing the city through her mother's eyes, noting security cameras, watching for people who watched her, counting exits in every space she passed through. The key in her pocket felt like it was burning. Penn Station was its usual controlled chaos. Travelers rushing for trains, homeless people sleeping in corners, transit police patrolling with bored efficiency. Elena found the lockers on the lower level, a wall of metal boxes that looked like they hadn't been updated since the 70s. Locker 842 was in the middle section. Waist height. Combination lock? Not a key lock. Elena stared at it. The key in her hand didn't fit, which meant Victor had sent her to the wrong locker, or the key was symbolic, or the combination was the real test. She tried her birthday backwards. Didn't work. Tried her mother's birthday. Nothing. Tried the date Isabel died. The lock clicked open. Inside the locker, a leather journal. Water-stained, well-worn, and underneath it, a photograph Elena had never seen before. Her mother, younger than Elena had ever known her, maybe 25, standing next to a man Elena didn't recognize, tall, dark-haired, smiling. They were both in what looked like military gear, desert in the background. On the back of the photo, in Isabel's handwriting, Kabul, 2001, before everything changed. Elena opened the journal with shaking hands. The first entry was dated 15 years ago. Her mother's handwriting, precise and controlled. Victor is wrong about the Kuwait operation. The asset we extracted wasn't who he claimed to be. I verified the identity through 3 separate sources. VH knew. He sent us after the wrong target deliberately. The question is why? Elena flipped forward. More entries. More doubts. Her mother slowly, methodically building a case that Victor Hale was running operations outside official channels, using Vanguard resources for personal gain, eliminating threats to his growing shadow empire. Then, dated 8 months before Isabel's death. I know what he's building now. It's brilliant, terrifying, but brilliant. He's not just corrupt, he's creating a parallel organization, using Vanguard's intelligence network to identify vulnerabilities in major institutions, then exploiting those vulnerabilities for profit. Banks, corporations, governments. He's got leverage on everyone that matters. And if I expose him, he'll burn it all down. Mutually assured destruction on a scale I've never seen. Adrian says I'm being paranoid. Maybe I am, but the evidence doesn't lie. More entries. Isabel describing meetings with federal contacts, lawyers who specialized in RICO cases, plans to deliver evidence in a way that couldn't be suppressed or ignored. Then, 3 weeks before her death. VH knows. I was careful, but he's better. Found surveillance equipment in my apartment. My phone's compromised. I have maybe days before he moves. I've hidden copies of everything in multiple locations. If something happens to me, Elena is the failsafe. She doesn't know it yet, but I've been preparing her since she was 6. Every game, every lesson, every protocol, it was all training, teaching her to think like an operative without ever telling her that's what she was becoming. If I die, the knowledge buried in her will surface when she needs it. She'll find the evidence. She'll finish what I started. I hate doing this to her. Hate that I'm turning my daughter into a weapon. But she's the only person I trust to see this through. The only one Victor won't expect. Elena's vision blurred. She swiped angrily at her eyes. Her mother had known. Had spent Elena's entire childhood building her into someone who could survive this. Who could fight back. The final entry, written the night before Isabel died. If you're reading this, Moya Dorogaya, I'm gone. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted this life for you. But Victor's network is too big, too connected. He's corrupted everything. The only way to stop him is from the inside, using someone he'd never suspect. You have all the pieces now. The files from Grand Central, this journal, the contacts I've cultivated. You just need to put them together. Trust Adrian. He's rigid but honest. Trust your training, even if you don't remember learning it. And trust yourself, you're stronger than you know. Victor's weakness is his arrogance. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. Show him he's wrong. I love you. Always. Mom. Elena closed the journal, pressed it against her chest. Around her, Penn Station continued its perpetual motion, people coming and going, completely unaware that a dead woman's last words were being read 20 feet away. She really did it, the voice came from behind her. Turned her kid into a sleeper agent. Elena spun. A woman stood there, late 40s, athletic build, cold eyes. She wore business casual and carried a leather bag that probably had a weapon in it. Who are you? Sarah Chen. I worked with your mother, briefly, before Victor had her killed. The woman glanced around casually. You should close that locker. We're being watched. Elena slammed the locker shut, shoved the journal into her jacket. If you worked with my mother, why didn't you help her? I tried. She didn't trust me. Thought I might be compromised. Sarah's smile was bitter. She was probably right to think that. Victor's reach is extensive. Even now, I'm not entirely sure I'm clean. Then why are you here? Because Isabel left me a message. Said if anything happened to her, I should watch for her daughter. Said you'd eventually find your way to this locker. Sarah gestured toward the stairs. We need to move. There are at least 3 hostile units converging on this location. How do you know? Because I'm one of the people tracking you. She said it matter-of-factly. I work for the people who attacked the Sapphire Room tonight, the ones who aren't Victor's men or Adrian's. The third faction your mother was investigating when she died. Elena's hand went to her pocket, closed around the key. Then why warn me? Because my orders are to observe and report, not to kill civilians. Sarah's expression was unreadable. And because your mother saved my life once. In Kabul, 15 years ago. I owe her. This is me paying that debt. The photograph. The man in the picture with Isabel. Elena pulled it out, showed it to Sarah. Is this you? Sarah's face transformed. Grief, sharp and immediate. Yeah, that's me. Back when I thought I was one of the good guys. She touched the photo lightly. We were partners for 2 years. Best operative I ever worked with. Then Victor drove a wedge between us, made me think she was unstable. By the time I realized he was the problem, it was too late. Who do you work for now? People who want Victor's network for themselves. People who think they can manage it better than he does. Sarah's mouth twisted. Spoiler, they're wrong, but they pay well, and I've got student loans. Despite everything, Elena almost laughed. The absurdity of it. International conspiracy, shadow organizations, and student debt. What do they want with me? Same thing everyone wants. The evidence your mother compiled. Proof of Victor's network. They figure if they have that, they can take over his operation, replace him, keep the machine running with different management. And you're okay with that? I'm a realist. Victor's not going anywhere unless someone forces him out. These people have the resources to do it. Whether that makes the world better or worse. Sarah shrugged. Above my pay grade. Elena studied her, saw the weariness behind the cynicism, the regret. My mother trusted you once, should I? Probably not. But right now, I'm the only person telling you the truth. Adrian wants to use you to destroy Victor. Victor wants to use you to protect his empire. My employers want to use you to steal it. Sarah met her eyes. Everyone's using you, Elena. The only question is which set of lies you find most palatable. What if I don't want to be used at all? Then you're smarter than your mother, but also probably dead within a week. Sarah checked her phone. Decision time. Come with me. Meet my employers. Hear their offer. Or go back to Adrian and keep playing his game. Or try to run on your own and see how far you get. Elena's mind raced. The journal in her jacket felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Every option Sarah presented was a trap of some kind. Different bait, same cage. Her mother's voice from the last journal entry. Trust yourself. I need time to think, Elena said. You have about 30 seconds before this place is swarming with people who want to kidnap or kill you. Choose. A train announcement echoed through the station. Track 12, departing in 5 minutes. Elena made a decision. Neither. I'm taking the train. She ran. Behind her, Sarah shouted something, but Elena was already moving through the crowd, dodging travelers, using their bodies as cover. She hit the platform at a full sprint, dove through the train doors just as they started closing. The train pulled away. Through the window, she saw Sarah standing on the platform, phone to her ear, watching her go. Elena collapsed into a seat, breathing hard. Around her, other passengers glanced at her with mild concern, then went back to their phones and books. Just another stressed commuter having a rough night. She pulled out the journal, flipped to a page marked with a small star. The Council. That's who Victor really answers to. Not Vanguard leadership. A group of 12 people who control major financial institutions, media outlets, and political machines. They don't meet in person, don't leave paper trails. But they exist. I've confirmed 7 of them. Working on the others. If I can identify them all, expose them, Victor's network collapses. But they're ghosts. The best kind, hiding in plain sight, respected, legitimate, untouchable, unless someone proves otherwise. Below that, a list of names, 7 of them, each with a brief notation. A senator, a hedge fund manager, a media mogul, a tech CEO, a federal judge, a pharmaceutical executive, a real estate developer. And at the bottom, in red ink, the 8th is close. Someone I see regularly, someone trusted, someone I... The entry ended there. Whatever Isabel had realized about the 8th council member, she'd never written it down. The train rattled through darkness. Elena stared at the names, trying to find the pattern. Trying to think like her mother. Her phone, the burner, buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're getting good at running, but you can't run forever. We need to talk. Face to face. No games, just truth. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, Cherry Blossom Walk. Come alone or don't come at all. VH Victor." Somehow he'd gotten her burner number, which meant either he'd tracked her electronically or he had people inside Adrian's operation feeding him information. Another text, different number. "Elena, we lost you at Penn. Are you okay? Where are you? We can pick you up anywhere. Just tell us where. Marco." She didn't respond to either message. The train emerged from the tunnel into Queens. Elena watched the city lights slide past, feeling the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her. Everyone wanted something from her. Everyone had an angle. Everyone was lying about at least part of their agenda, except maybe her mother, dead 9 years but still trying to guide her through the maze she'd left behind. Elena thought about the photograph, about Sarah Chen in military gear, young and idealistic, standing next to Isabel before everything went wrong, about how people changed or didn't or pretended to. She got off at the next stop, walked until she found an all-night diner that looked anonymous and tired, ordered coffee she didn't drink and sat in a back booth, reading her mother's journal from cover to cover. By the time the sun came up, she had a plan. It was reckless, probably stupid, definitely dangerous, but it was hers. At 1:45 p.m., Elena walked into the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. The cherry blossoms were past peak, but still beautiful, petals drifting down like snow, coating the paths in pink and white. Couples strolled, families took photos. A normal Thursday afternoon in spring. She found Victor on a bench overlooking a koi pond feeding the fish. He looked relaxed, harmless, like someone's grandfather enjoying retirement. He glanced up as she approached, smiled slightly. "You came. I wasn't sure you would. I'm here for answers, not games." "Good. I'm tired of games too." He gestured to the bench. "Sit, please." Elena sat, maintaining distance. "You could have taken me last night, in the dark, during the attack. Instead, you gave me a key and told me to run. Why?" "Because the attack wasn't mine, and I needed you to know that." Victor threw another handful of food to the koi. "There are 3 factions in play now, Elena. Mine, which wants to maintain the current structure. Adrian's, which wants to dismantle it. And a third group, the ones who attacked us both last night, who want to take over. The council." Victor's hand stilled. He looked at her with new respect. "You read Isabel's journal?" "Every word." "Then you know what's really at stake. This isn't about good versus evil. It's about which set of corrupt powers controls the infrastructure." He turned to face her fully. "Your mother thought exposure would fix everything, that sunshine was the best disinfectant. She was wrong. When you expose this level of corruption, you don't heal the system. You just create opportunities for worse people to fill the vacuum." "So your solution is to keep running a criminal empire?" "My solution is stability, predictability, rules, even if those rules exist outside the law." Victor's voice was calm, patient. "The council wants chaos. They profit from volatility. Adrian wants justice, which sounds noble until you realize he has no plan for what happens after he tears everything down. I'm the only one offering continuity." "My mother didn't think so." "Your mother was brilliant and naive in equal measure. She thought people were basically good, that given the choice they'd choose right over wrong." Victor's smile was sad. "She died still believing that. I've spent my life learning otherwise." Elena felt the journal in her jacket, Her mother's words pressed against her heart. You killed her. Yes, and I've regretted it every day since. Not because it was wrong. Strategically, it was necessary. But because Isabel was one of the few people who made me want to be better than I am. He paused. I know you think I'm a monster. Fair enough. But monsters can still have principles, and mine is that I keep my word. Always, no exceptions. Then here's what I want. Elena pulled out the journal, watched Victor's eyes track it. You tell me who the 8th council member is, the one my mother almost identified before she died. You tell me the truth, and I'll give you this. Victor was very still. That journal is leverage against me. I know, which is why you'll tell me the truth. Because if you don't, I'll give it to Adrian, or to the council, or I'll publish it online and let the chaos you're so afraid of consume everything. A long silence. The koi swam lazy circles in the pond. Cherry blossoms drifted down like a gentle apocalypse. You're Isabel's daughter, Victor said finally. I keep forgetting that. Then you do something like this, and I remember exactly whose blood you carry. He took a breath. The 8th council member, the one she was close to identifying. It's not one person, it's 3. A triumvirate that controls the others, and one of them, he met her eyes. One of them is Adrian Cade. The world tilted. You're lying. I wish I was. Victor's expression was genuinely pained. Adrian's been counsel for 6 years. He joined thinking he could change them from inside, reform the system, make it better. Classic idealist mistake. By the time he realized he was in too deep, they owned him. Blackmail, leverage, the usual tools. He's been trying to break free ever since. That's what his war against me is really about, destroying the council's power base so they can't control him anymore. Elena's mind raced, remembered Adrian's certainty, his resources, the way he always seemed to know what the council would do next, because he was one of them. Prove it, she said. Victor pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. Adrian at a table with 11 other people. The faces matched the names in her mother's journal. The date stamp was from 4 months ago. Council meeting, quarterly review. Adrian's been attending them for years. Victor put the phone away. Your mother figured it out a week before she died. That's what got her killed, not the general corruption she'd documented. The specific revelation that the man she trusted most was part of the system she wanted to destroy. Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. He's been using me this whole time. Yes, to get the evidence your mother hid, to finish her work. Not because he wants justice, because he wants freedom. If he can destroy the council, he can finally walk away clean. Victor's voice was gentle. I'm sorry, I know you wanted him to be the hero. What do you want from me? Help me stabilize the situation. Give me the flash drive, the journal, everything Isabel compiled. I'll use it to keep the council in check. Maintain the balance. And I'll make sure you walk away from this alive and safe. That's my offer. Elena stood. Her legs felt unsteady. I need time. You have until midnight tonight. After that, the council makes its move. They're planning to eliminate both Adrian and me, then absorb our networks. If you want to survive what's coming, you need to choose a side. She walked away without answering. Behind her, Victor returned to feeding the koi, looking like exactly what he claimed to be. A tired old man trying to hold chaos at bay. Elena made it 3 blocks before her knees gave out. She sat on a bench, head in her hands, trying to process. Everyone had lied. Everyone. Even the people she'd started to trust. Her phone buzzed. Marco. We've been looking for you. Where are you? Adrian's worried. Elena stared at the message. Thought about the photograph Victor had shown her. About her mother's last journal entry, cut short before she could name the 8th council member. About how trust was a weapon everyone kept using against her. She texted back, Brooklyn. I'm fine. Tell Adrian I found something. I'll meet him tonight. Usual safe house. 8 p.m. Then she turned off the phone. She had 8 hours to figure out who was telling the truth. And what the hell she was going to do about it. Elena spent the next 6 hours doing what her mother had trained her to do without ever calling it that. She investigated. Not with dramatic surveillance or high-tech equipment, with public records, old newspaper archives at the library, and the kind of patient, methodical research that turned fragments into patterns. She started with the photograph Victor had shown her, ran the faces through her memory, cross-referenced them with the names in her mother's journal. 3 of them had died in the past 9 years. Car accidents, heart attacks, 1 suicide. All ruled natural or accidental. All within 6 months of Isabel's death. The council cleaning house. She found Adrian's financial records, the public ones at least. Donations to political campaigns, charitable foundations, real estate holdings. Everything legitimate on the surface. But when she dug deeper, traced the shell companies and offshore accounts the way her mother had taught her in those childhood games, patterns emerged. Money flowing to the same places the other council members invested. Synchronized movements suggesting coordination. And a massive withdrawal 3 months ago, $15 million, transferred to an account in the Bahamas, then immediately dispersed to a dozen different locations. Someone building an escape route. By 7 p.m., Elena had confirmed enough to know Victor wasn't entirely lying. Adrian was connected to the council. Whether he was a willing participant or a trapped asset trying to break free, that was the question. She showed up at the safe house at 8 p.m. exactly. Marco met her at the door, relief and suspicion warring on his face. "Where the hell have you been? Adrian's been—" "I know, I needed to think." Elena walked past him into the apartment. "Is he here?" "In the office." "Elena, I need to talk to him first, alone." Marco's hand moved toward his weapon. Subtle, but Elena caught it. She was getting good at reading people, at seeing the micro-movements that betrayed intention. "That's not going to happen," Marco said quietly. "You disappeared for 16 hours, turned off your phone, met with Victor Hale in a public park." "Yeah, we know about that. So before you see Adrian, you're going to tell me what the hell is going on." Elena met his eyes, saw genuine concern there, but also calculation. Loyalty to Adrian ran deep. "Victor told me Adrian's counsel, that he's been part of the system he claims to want to destroy. Is it true?" Marco's expression didn't change, which was answer enough. "It's complicated," he said finally. "It's a yes or no question." "It's really not." Marco gestured toward the office. "Come on, let Adrian explain." The office was different from the last safe house. Smaller, more personal. Photos on the walls of people Elena didn't recognize. A bookshelf filled with military history and philosophy. Adrian sat behind a desk covered in documents, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He stood when Elena entered. "Thank God. We were worried." "Were you?" Elena's voice was flat. "Worried I'd run? Or worried I'd figure it out?" Adrian glanced at Marco, who shook his head slightly. "Give us the room." Marco left, closed the door behind him. "What did Victor tell you?" Adrian asked. "That your counsel, that you've been part of their organization for 6 years, that my mother figured it out right before she died." Elena pulled out the photograph Victor had given her, set it on the desk. "True or false?" Adrian looked at the photo for a long time. Then he sat down heavily, suddenly looking every one of his 40-some years. "True, technically. Technically. I'm counsel, but not by choice. Not anymore if I ever was." He rubbed his face. 6 years ago, they approached me with an offer. Join them, help reform the organization from within, use my position to make things better. I believed them, thought I could actually change the system. What happened? I started noticing things, discrepancies, operations that didn't match the stated goals, money disappearing into accounts I couldn't trace. When I asked questions, they gave me answers that didn't quite add up. His voice was bitter. By the time I realized I was being manipulated, they had enough on me to destroy my life 10 times over. Fabricated evidence of crimes I never committed. Witnesses they could produce. A paper trail leading straight to my door. "So you're a hostage." "I'm a fool who thought he could outsmart people who've been playing this game for decades." Adrian met her eyes. "Your mother tried to warn me. She saw through them immediately. But I was arrogant, convinced I was smarter, and by the time I realized she was right, she was dead." Elena studied him, looked for deception in his expression, in the set of his shoulders, in the way he held eye contact without flinching. "You've been using me to get free of them. The flash drive, the journal, all of it. You need that evidence to prove the council's corruption so they can't blackmail you anymore." "Yes, but that's not the only reason." Adrian leaned forward. "Elena, your mother died trying to expose them. She gave her life for it. I owe it to her to finish what she started. And yes, finishing it sets me free, but it also dismantles a network of corruption that's destroyed hundreds of lives. Both things can be true. Can they? Because from where I'm sitting, everyone's just using me for their own agenda. Victor wants me to give him the evidence so he can maintain control. You want me to give it to you so you can break free. The council wants me dead so I can't give it to anyone. Elena's voice rose. Everyone wants something. No one's telling me the whole truth. What do you want, Elena? The question caught her off guard. She'd been reacting for days now, surviving moment to moment, making choices based on immediate threats. But what did she actually want? She thought about her mother, about Isabel's last journal entry, the apology woven through instructions for revenge, about being turned into a weapon without consent, trained from childhood to fight a war she didn't know existed. I want it to stop, she said quietly. I want the people who killed my mother to face consequences. And I want to stop being a pawn in everyone else's game. Adrian nodded slowly. Then help me end it. Tonight. The council's meeting at midnight to decide their next move. They don't know I know about it. I've got someone on the inside feeding me information. We crash that meeting, expose everything, and let them tear each other apart. That's suicide. It's the only play we have left. Victor's told you his truth. I've told you mine. The council's version involves you being dead by morning. He pulled up a file on his computer. Security footage from what looked like a parking garage showed 3 armed men staging equipment, checking weapons. They're planning to hit all the safe houses simultaneously. Eliminate anyone connected to your mother's investigation. That includes you, me, Marco, Dr. Reeves, Cassidy. Everyone. Elena watched the footage, recognized one of the men from the attack at Grand Central. When? Starts at 10 p.m. They want everyone dead before the midnight meeting. Adrian's expression was grim. We can run, go underground, but they'll find us eventually. They always do. Or we can take the fight to them. Use the evidence your mother compiled to fracture the council. Turn them against each other. Create enough chaos that they're too busy fighting amongst themselves to come after us. Divide and conquer. Exactly. Your mother's plan all along. She just didn't live long enough to execute it. Elena thought about the journal, about Isabel's meticulous documentation, the years of patience, the careful cultivation of evidence, all building toward a moment of maximum impact. I need guarantees, she said. If I do this, if I help you take down the council, you don't disappear into some comfortable retirement while everyone else deals with the fallout. You use your freedom to actually fix things. No more shadows, no more games. You testify. You cooperate with federal investigations. You burn it all down, even the parts that implicate you. Adrian hesitated. That could mean prison time. Yeah, it could, but it's better than being controlled by people who murder anyone inconvenient. Elena held his gaze. My mother died for this. The least you can do is risk your comfortable life. A long silence. Then Adrian extended his hand. Deal. We do this together, all the way, no matter where it leads. Elena shook his hand, felt the weight of the commitment settle over her like armor. So how do we crash a meeting of the 12 most powerful criminals on the East Coast without getting killed immediately? She asked. Adrian smiled. It wasn't pleasant. Very carefully, and with better leverage than they're expecting. The plan came together with surprising speed. Dr. Reeves arrived with technical equipment, cameras, recording devices, wireless transmitters. Marco coordinated with contacts in law enforcement, people Isabel had cultivated over the years who were still clean, still willing to act if given evidence they couldn't ignore. We'll stream everything live, Dr. Reeves explained, setting up laptops. Multiple platforms. Make it impossible to suppress. The second the council realizes they're being broadcast to 500,000 viewers, they'll panic. Panic makes people stupid. Or violent, Cassidy said from her position by the window. Her shoulder was bandaged, but she'd refused to sit out. We need contingencies for when they start shooting. They won't, Adrian said. Not immediately. These are people who've spent decades operating in the shadows. Public exposure is their worst nightmare. They'll try to contain it first. Negotiate. That's when we hit them with the real evidence. Elena had been quiet, reading through the flash drive contents one more time, making sure she understood every piece of the puzzle. She found something that made her stop. There's a file here my mother marked high priority, Audio recording from 7 years ago. She played it. A conversation, 2 voices. One she recognized as Victor's. The other took her a moment. Then her blood went cold. We need to accelerate the timeline. Isabel's getting too close. She's your partner, Victor. You really willing to eliminate her? Partners are temporary. The network is permanent. She made her choice when she started investigating us instead of trusting the system. Your call. But make it clean. Her daughter's just a kid. No need to traumatize her more than necessary. The second voice belonged to Adrian. Elena stopped the recording, looked at Adrian, who'd gone very pale. That's not what it sounds like, he said quickly. It sounds like you and Victor discussing my mother's murder. Elena's voice was ice. I was trying to talk him out of it. That whole conversation, I was arguing against killing Isabel. The file's been edited, chopped up to make it sound like I agreed when I didn't. Prove it. I can't, that's the point. Victor's been building insurance against me for years, making sure if I ever turned on him, he could destroy me. Adrian's hands were shaking. Elena, I swear to you, I tried to save your mother. I failed, but I tried. Dr. Reeves was examining the audio file's metadata. He's right. This has been edited, heavily. I can see the splice points. The conversation was probably 30 minutes. This excerpt is 90 seconds of out-of-context fragments. But some of it is real, Elena said. Adrian was there. He knew Victor was planning something. I knew Victor was concerned about Isabel's investigation. I didn't know he was planning to kill her until after it happened. Adrian's voice cracked. When I found out, I wanted to go to the authorities. Victor reminded me that I was counsel, that my hands were already dirty, that trying to be a hero would just get us both killed. So He stopped, took a breath. I did nothing, and I've hated myself for it every single day since. Elena wanted to rage at him, wanted to walk out, wanted to take the evidence to Victor or the council or anyone else and let them all destroy each other. But her mother's voice whispered in her mind, trust your instincts. And her instincts said Adrian was telling the truth, ugly, painful, cowardly truth, but truth nonetheless. After this is over, she said quietly, you turn yourself in. You face whatever consequences come. You don't hide behind lawyers or plea deals. You take responsibility. I will. I promise. Good. Because if you don't, I'll make sure that recording goes public and let the world decide if you're a failed hero or a willing accomplice. Adrian nodded, accepted it. Marco checked his watch. We need to move. It's 9:30. Windows closing. They geared up. Elena wore the same Kevlar-lined jacket from before, now with additional equipment sewn into the lining. A camera the size of a button on her collar. A microphone that picked up whispers from 20 feet away. A panic transmitter that would alert every law enforcement contact on Marco's list if she pressed it. The council met in the basement of a private club in Midtown. Elite, exclusive, the kind of place that required membership approval from people who'd been members for generations. Perfect cover for clandestine meetings. They arrived separately. Adrian first, using his legitimate council invitation. Marco and Cassidy positioned outside with sniper support, not to engage, but to ensure Elena had extraction if things went bad. Dr. Reeves in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring all feeds. Elena went in through the service entrance. She'd memorized the layout from blueprints Marco had acquired, knew where the cameras were, where the guards patrolled, which corridors were watched and which weren't. Her mother's training guided her, moving with purpose but not speed, looking like she belonged, becoming invisible through confidence rather than stealth. The meeting room was accessed through a wine cellar. Heavy oak door, combination lock. Elena had the code. Adrian had provided it, claimed it was his legitimate access as a council member. She hoped he wasn't lying. The lock clicked. The door swung open. 12 people sat around a long table. 11 turned to look at her in surprise. The 12th, Victor Hale, just smiled. Elena, right on time. He gestured to an empty chair. We've been expecting you. Her heart hammered, but she kept her expression neutral, walked forward like she'd planned this, like she was in control. I'm here to offer a trade, she said. We know. The evidence your mother compiled in exchange for your life. The man at the head of the table spoke, elderly, distinguished, radiating the kind of power that came from owning people. The question is whether you understand that your life isn't actually worth that trade. Maybe not to you, but it is to me. Elena pulled out the flash drive, set it on the table. Everything Isabel Varelli collected over 12 years, financial records, audio recordings, video evidence, enough to destroy every person in this room 10 times over. And you're giving it to us because, a woman to Victor's left, skeptical, because I want to walk away. I don't care about your empire. I don't care about justice or revenge. I just want to live my life without looking over my shoulder. Elena was lying through her teeth, counting on them to believe what they wanted to hear. My mother's crusade died with her. I'm not interested in being a martyr. The elderly man picked up the flash drive, examined it. How do we know this is real, that you haven't kept copies? You don't. But you also don't have a choice. If you kill me, those copies go public automatically. I've set up a dead man's switch. Every week I don't check in, the evidence gets sent to 50 different news organizations, law enforcement agencies, and elected officials. Another lie, but sold confidently. So you can take the deal and hope I keep my word. Or you can kill me and guarantee your destruction. Silence around the table. Elena counted heartbeats, wondered if they could hear her pulse hammering. Clever, Victor said. Isabel's daughter indeed. But you're forgetting something important. What's that? We're not the only ones with leverage. He nodded to someone behind Elena. She turned. A side door opened. Two men entered, dragging someone between them. Dr. Reeves, bloodied, unconscious but breathing. We found your technical support about 20 minutes ago, Victor said pleasantly. Took out your extraction team too. Marco and Cassidy are currently detained, which means you're alone here, with no backup, no recording, no clever plan to expose us. He stood. So let's try this again. You give us the evidence, all copies, all backups, and in exchange, we let you and your friends live, probably. Elena's mind raced. The plan had fallen apart. They'd anticipated her move, countered it, taken away every advantage. She was standing in a room with 12 killers, no weapons, no backup, no way out. Trust your instincts, her mother whispered. Elena smiled. You're right. My technical support did get caught, but she's not my only backup. She pulled out her phone, showed them the screen. A live feed, streaming to 40,000 viewers and climbing. Every word they'd said, every face around the table, all of it being recorded and broadcast in real time. I've been streaming since I walked in the door, Elena said. Everyone watching knows who you are, what you are. And if anything happens to me now, you'll have made yourselves into martyrs for the entire internet. The elderly man lunged for her phone. Elena tossed it to Victor, who caught it reflexively, stared at the screen, saw himself staring back. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice was uncertain. Am I? Check Twitter. Search for Council of 12. See how fast your names are trending. Several people pulled out phones. Their expressions changed as they scrolled. Shock, horror, rage. You stupid girl, the elderly man hissed. You've killed us all. Do you understand that? We can't survive exposure like this. That's the point. Elena's voice was hard. My mother spent 12 years documenting your crimes. She died trying to bring you down. I'm finishing what she started. Chaos erupted. Council members shouting at each other, at Victor, at Elena. Someone pulled a gun. Someone else grabbed for the flash drive. And then the doors burst open. Federal agents poured in, weapons drawn, shouting orders. Marco and Cassidy appeared behind them, not detained, very much armed and operational. The whole capture had been staged, bait to make the council overconfident. In the confusion, Adrian appeared at Elena's side. We need to go. Now! They ran. Behind them, agents were reading rights, slapping handcuffs on people who'd never expected to be arrested. The elderly man was shouting about lawyers. Victor just stood there, looking at Elena with something like respect. Well played, he said quietly, as agents cuffed him. Isabel would be proud. Elena didn't respond, just kept moving, following Adrian through corridors and upstairs and out into the Manhattan night. They emerged 3 blocks away, where a car was waiting, piled in. The driver pulled away as sirens converged on the private club behind them. Dr. Reeves? Elena asked. Safe. The whole capture was theater. We needed them to think they'd won. Marco was grinning. The look on their faces when the feds showed up. Won't stick, Cassidy said. People that powerful. They have lawyers who can make murder charges disappear. Give them a week. They'll be out on bail. Maybe, Adrian said. But we weren't trying to convict them in court. We were trying to expose them to the public. Every news outlet in the country has the footage Elena broadcast. Their names, their faces, their crimes, all of it public record now. Even if they beat the charges, they're done. Finished. No one will work with them. No one will trust them. We've destroyed their power by destroying their anonymity. Elena stared out the window, watching the city slide past. Thought about her mother's journal, about 12 years of patient work leading to this moment. It's really over? The council? Yeah. Victor's network? Mostly. There will be cleanup, investigations, trials, people trying to grab power in the vacuum. But the organization Isabel was fighting against? Adrian nodded. It's broken. Might take years to die completely, but it's broken. And you? You're really going to testify? Face consequences? I gave you my word. Adrian's expression was serious. First thing tomorrow, I'm meeting with federal prosecutors. I'll tell them everything. About the council, about my involvement, about the crimes I witnessed and the ones I committed. Whatever comes from that, I'll accept it. Elena studied him, saw genuine determination there mixed with fear and resignation. Thank you. I'm not doing it for thanks. I'm doing it because it's right. Because your mother died trying to do the right thing, and I owe her that much. He paused. What about you? What happens to Elena Varelli now that the war's over? Good question. Elena had spent 3 years being invisible, then a week being hunted, and now she was… what? A survivor. A weapon her mother had built and aimed at corruption. A girl who'd lost everything and somehow made it mean something. I think, she said slowly, I need to figure out who I am when I'm not running or hiding or fighting. My whole life has been shaped by my mother's mission. Time to figure out what my mission is. Sounds healthy, Cassidy said. Also boring. You're welcome to join our new venture. What venture? Marco and Adrian exchanged glances. We're starting a foundation, Marco explained, using the evidence from Isabel's files to help people who've been damaged by corrupt systems, legal support, protection, resources, turning your mother's work into something that helps people instead of just punishing criminals. She'd like that. Elena felt her throat tighten. Yeah, maybe I'll help. After I take some time. Take all the time you need, Adrian said. You've earned it. They dropped her at a hotel. Safe, anonymous, paid for in cash. Elena took a long shower, washing away days of fear and violence and impossible choices. Stood under the hot water until her skin turned red. When she emerged, she found her phone, her real phone, recovered from the safe house. Dozens of messages, news outlets requesting interviews, lawyers offering representation, random people who'd seen the broadcast and wanted to share opinions, and one message from an unknown number. Your mother once told me the best revenge is living well. She was right. Live well, Elena. You've earned it. VH. Elena deleted it. Then she pulled out her mother's journal. Read the last entry one more time. Trust yourself. You're stronger than you know. She closed the journal, set it on the nightstand. For 9 years, Elena had been invisible. Nobody special. A waitress who watched powerful people and never made a sound. Tomorrow she'd start figuring out who she was supposed to be. But tonight she let herself cry. For her mother. For the childhood that had been training in disguise. For all the ways Isabel had tried to protect her by turning her into someone who didn't need protection. And for the strange, terrible gift of survival, of making it through hell and coming out the other side, scarred but standing. 3 months later, Elena stood in front of a new building in Brooklyn. Clean brick, fresh paint, a sign being installed above the door. The Isabel Varelli Foundation for Justice and Protection. Marco waved from inside. What do you think? I think she'd love it. Elena walked in, looked around at the office space being set up. Desks for caseworkers, meeting rooms for clients. A wall dedicated to Isabel's memory. Her photo, young and fierce, surrounded by quotes about justice and courage. Dr. Reeves was training new staff on security protocols. Cassidy was reviewing protection details for clients already seeking help. Adrian was conspicuously absent, currently in federal custody awaiting trial. His testimony had already brought down 3 more council members and exposed corruption in half a dozen agencies. It would take years to clean up the mess, maybe decades. But the work had started. Elena's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Elena Varelli? A woman's voice, professional. This is Agent Sarah Chen, FBI. We met briefly at Penn Station. I'm calling about your mother's case. There are some additional files I'd like to discuss. Are you available to meet? Elena smiled. Yeah, I'm available. Because the fight wasn't over. Would probably never be completely over. Corruption was a hydra. Cut off one head and 2 more grew back. But that was fine. Elena Varelli had spent 3 years being nobody. Now she was ready to be somebody. Not a weapon, not a victim. Not her mother's legacy, just herself. Trained, prepared, dangerous when necessary. And finally visible. The invisible girl who'd saved a crime boss's life had become a woman who couldn't be ignored. Not a ruler, not a victim, not even a hero. Something more dangerous than any of those things. A person who'd learned to use the power of transparency, who understood that the best way to fight shadows was with light, and who'd never ever be invisible again. She walked into the foundation bearing her mother's name and got to work. The war Isabel started was over, but the mission continued, and this time Elena was writing her own story,